And welcome back. Well, in this session we're going to be creating the expression or the expressions that will allow the aircraft to have some drift both horizontally and vertically. A little bit something like this. Now, as you can see, we can vary the speed of the prop, but notice this gentle drift that we have. It is a horizontal and vertical drift. Now, we want to incorporate an expression that will allow the animator to have the option whether to use this facility, this function, or not to use it. And if they do use it, to have some control over the amplitude. So that's going to be our objective. Okay, well, let's get cracking. As we already have our control curve selected, let's go Alt 1 and create a couple of custom attributes. We'll have it as a float and as a spinner. Let's call this drift underscore, and we'll say H for horizontal. We'll put it to 100, and I'm going to keep the range from 0 to 100. We'll say add. We can now go drift underscore, and we'll put it as V for vertical, and let's go add. Now I want these new attributes to be just under our fuselage section there. So into our edit and delete, let's pop down. We'll do the horizontal one first, and we're going to move it up as far as the hierarchy is concerned. So I want it just underneath the trim. When I say trim on that one as well, it's really the yaw, but hey. Okay, so we've moved that up to there. Let's say apply changes, and now we can see drift horizontal. Let's come down. We want the drift vertical. Let's move that up just underneath drift horizontal, and there we go. Say apply changes. Now we can close this down. Now we don't have to create a new point connection for this. We can actually use an existing one. So the one we're going to be using is the point connection fuselage. Now that's the one that controls the movement of the fuselage, and as everything is more or less linked to the fuselage, that's the one we need to use. Okay, so let's select the point connection fuselage. Now we're going to pop into our motion panel, assign controller, and we're looking at the position, not the rotation. It is the position for this one. So let's click the plus sign there, and now we can see that we have our X position, our Y position, and our Z position. So which of these actually controls our horizontal position? Well, a good indication are the arrows. If we have a look here, we can see that it is the X position that controls that horizontal movement. Okay, so let's select our X position there, and we're going up to this icon here, assign a controller. Now default again is Bezier float, but we want a float expression, so select that and say OK. And now we're presented with our expression controller once again. Well, to begin with, what we want to do is introduce an expression that will allow our model to move from left to right, and the one we're going to use is sin, S-I-N, and we're going to have an open parentheses. Now again, it comes down to our type. Do we want to use this as seconds, or as frames, or as ticks? Well, what we want to use in this instance is T for ticks. So if we put T in there now, and were I to finish this expression off by adding a close parenthesis, do a debug, yep, that's fine, there is no errors, and we press evaluate. If we now start playing the timeline, so I'll play that. Now, as you can see, it's actually moving left to right very, very rapidly. In fact, so rapidly that we can hardly see it. So we need to slow this down somehow. So what we can do is pop into our expression, give it a space, and let's divide this time now by something like, let's say 30. See what effect that has. We don't have to debug because we've already done that really, so let's go evaluate and press our play animation again. Well, again, we can see a slight movement, but it's not all that brilliant, so let's stop it. We're going to have a look at this then. So what we want to do now is, so we've got sine and it's t divided by 30, but now I want to times it, let's say by 30 as well. Let's evaluate it and press play. Well, we're starting to get that movement. So our controlling value here really is this 30. Let me just switch this off for a moment. So if this is the controlling part of this expression, what I really need there is a variable. Now we do have that option to create a variable, and here we go. So what I want to do is start creating a variable. We can call our variable drift, H for horizontal, or I could just call it DH. Let's create that, and now what I want to do is assign a controller. But before I do that, let's just select our CC Messerschmitt. And now if I go assign a controller, here we are again. What I want to do is look inside the attribute holders. So if we come down, there we go. Now you'll notice that it's actually remembered where we were working last time, and that's one of the nice things about Max. When we assigned our controllers last time, it opened up all this, and of course Max has remembered that, so now it's presented us with our custom attributes straight away. Okay, so the controller that I require for this is drift horizontal. So select drift horizontal, say OK, and now if I replace 30 with our variable DH and we say evaluate and close our expression controller down, pop into our modify panel, there we can see we've got our drift horizontal, it's set to 0. Let's just start playing our animation. I wonder if you can hear the aeroplane in the background here. And now we start to increase our drift horizontal. There we go. Set that to 0. Right click to set it to 0. And there we go. So we're providing our animator with the option to either use or not to use the drift horizontal. Let's just stop this now. Let's now select our point connection, fuselage again, into our motion, assign a controller. We're looking for our position, and this time we want the Z. axes. So select Z axes, up to assign controller. We're looking for float expression. We can say OK on that. We have our expression controller dialog box open. Let's pull that here for a moment, and now we can type sine, open parentheses, capital T, divided by 30, close parentheses. I'll just put time in times for the time being. Over to our create variable. We'll call this one dv. Say create. Now before we go to assign a controller, let's again connect or select our control curve there. Now assign controller. What we want to do now is look for drift vertical layer. Select that, say OK, and now we can type in dv there, debug, that's fine, and evaluate. Close this down, pop over to our modify panel, and let's just play the animation again. Let's increase our horizontal and our vertical. And there we go. Okay, we're mindful of the time. We'll actually continue this in the next session, so I'll catch you later.